When we look at our second square of the month, the Paitsu square, there are some really fantastic cable crossings in this square. And I know you're having trouble seeing it because I can tell on the video it's not coming out very well. So what I'm going to do is leap right into the chart and go ahead and talk to you about what to look for on the chart. And then we'll go ahead and work that very first pattern repeat so that you can really see the fantastic cables in this second square. So for the Paitsu, we're going to cast on 33 stitches with color number 505 Steve, but again, I'm going to use a nice light color and a Carlton, so it's not that glorious Erica Knight Gossypium cotton, but it is some pretty nice superwash wool. I'm going to follow that chart, and I'm going to repeat the stitches between the red lines or the stars if you're going from the written directions 2 times. And then we'll repeat the whole chart 3 times before we bind off. So remember, we're going to cast on those 33 stitches, and this time we're going to have a slightly different pattern with our cables, and we're going to have a little bit of cabling on both sides. So I'm going to show you how to do that when we get to it, but you will actually be using the descriptions for the wrong side of the cable so that you can make your cables travel all the way across your square in a very tidy fashion. So I'll go ahead, cast on that first row, and then I'll show you how to work the first and second row so that you get an understanding of how to work those cables. So let's work that first row. We're going to slip that first stitch, then knit 3 stitches, purl the next stitch, and then we'll start that pattern repeat. So we need to knit 1 and 2, and now what we're going to do is we are going to change the position of these 2 stitches right here. And all we're going to do is do that twist to front, and remember, we're going to cross the first stitch in front over the second stitch, purl 1 stitch, and then knit 1 through the back loop. So we're going to stick that needle tip in to the left hand stitch, going to swap the position of those 2 stitches just like we've done before, but this time instead of knitting both of those stitches, we're going to bring our yarn to the front, purl the first stitch, and then when we knit this stitch we want to knit through the back loop. So we aren't going to knit like this. We want to knit that one through the back loop so that it twists the base of our stitch. And now we are going to purl 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2, 3, 4, 5. We will knit 2, purl 1 more stitch, and now it's time to start that repeat over again. So we'll go ahead and knit both of those stitches, and then I'm going to show you how to do that twist 2 to the front again. So remember, we're going to take the needle tip on the right hand, insert it into the back of the second stitch. I'm going to hold the first stitch at the very base and pull both stitches off of that left hand needle. Now I will place the first stitch back on the needle and then move the second stitch over. And remember, this time we are going to purl 1 stitch and then knit 1 through the back loop. And then we'll purl 5 again. Then knit 2, purl 1, and that's our second repeat of the chart. So now we're just going to finish out by knitting 1, 2, 3, 4. And usually your wrong side row would be a rest row, but this time we actually have some work to do on the back side as well. So remember, when we are reading the wrong side of our work, that we have to work the stitches from the wrong side of our chart key. So we're going to slip 1, purl 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but this is part of our pattern repeat. So we're going to purl 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, which makes 6. So now that we've worked the first few stitches of our row 2, our wrong side row, where we slipped 1, we purled 3, and then purled 3 more as part of the pattern repeat. Then we knit 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're ready to work that 1/1 twist left. So when we work the 1/1 twist left, we have to remember to work it on the wrong side row. So we're going to slip the second stitch to the cable needle and hold in back, then purl the stitch on the cable needle through the back loop, then purl the stitch on the needle. So what does that mean? We're going to slip the second stitch to a cable needle and hold it in the back. Then we're going to purl the stitch on the cable needle through the back loop, which means that we are going to insert the tip of our needle through the back loop and purl it, and then purl the second stitch just like that. Then we're going to knit 1 stitch and then purl 2 stitches to complete the pattern repeat. And in the second repeat of this chart, remember, we're going to come back over here and purl 3 more. 1, 2, 3. Then knit 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And now we're going to do that 1/1 twist left again. So remember, we're going to slip the second stitch to the cable needle and hold it in the back. We are going to purl the stitch on the cable needle through the back loop, picking it up through the back loop, then purl the stitch that's still on the needle, and then follow the rest of our chart. So I will go ahead and work through the rest of our stitches for our chart. So I'm going to go all the way through row 12, and then I will show you what our pattern is starting to look like. You can just barely see those cables starting to form. So I'm going to go ahead and finish working the pattern repeat, and then I'll show you what it looks like. Now that I've worked through row 12 of the Paitsu pattern repeat, you can really start to see how those cables come together to create the twisted angles as well as the twisted bars of the cables in this pattern. This is one of my favorite patterns throughout the blanket, but if you're having trouble with it, remember that you can always work it as regular knits and regular purls without twisting the stitches. It will change the appearance just a little bit, but not enough that it will affect the overall appearance of the blanket. Now that we've gone ahead and worked the second square for the month, I hope you're looking forward to next month when we get back into a little bit of color work. I know that I'm looking forward to that as well, but I've loved the little trip through cables that we have taken together, and I hope that you'll continue to work cables as you move forward with your knitting progress. I'll see you next month.